Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a great show for you. A lot of big conversations lined up. First and foremost, let's talk about what's coming out of the White House as President Biden has said that he would use military action if Taiwan is invaded by China. We're going to be checking in with our foreign policy expert, Dr. Horn, to talk to us about the implications of military action in that part of the world, considering Russia and Ukraine. We'll have that conversation. Also, Stacey Abrams is under fire for saying that Georgia is the worst state in the country. But I'm going to share with you why this one line has been taken out of context and what she really means. And guess what? I agree with her. We're going to have that discussion. Also, let's talk about a new Washington Post Ipsos poll that says that Black Americans are more fearful now than ever before of the next racist attack after the Buffalo mass shooting. We'll break down the numbers for you. And then later, exotic pop. Should Black folks have executive or exclusive brands for retail items? I'm going to share with you the story of Exotic Pop, the Black-owned beverage company, what they're doing to change the game, but how they are taking exclusivity to the next level. We'll have that conversation. Of course, we got Trends Post is doing the most, so stay with us. We got a lot to get to on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to talk about. So, of course, let's jump right in. Now, let your family and friends know that the show was on. And we'll be certainly getting to your posts and your comments as we are broadcasting live, or streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube and of course, on Black Star Network. You can check us out at blackstarnetwork.com to check us all out. But today, folks, I wanted to have this conversation because, look, I saw what was being said by President Biden in the news, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, Mr. President, hold up. The president has gone forward to mention that any type of invasion of Taiwan by China will be met with military action from the United States of America. Folks, let me just bring you up to speed, and certainly we'll bring in our foreign policy expert, Dr. Greg Horn, to talk to us a little bit about this. But he mentioned this, the president, he said this earlier today, that the United States would intervene militarily if China attempts to take Taiwan by force, a warning that some people are saying appear to deviate from the very deliberate ambiguity that we often seen by Washington. This is according to the latest report by CNN. Of course, the White House and President Biden and his team is trying to downplay this. So I don't know if they are seeing this as another gaffe or not by the president, but the fact remains, this is a very, very serious statement to make in light of what's happening with Ukraine and Russia, and in light of the relationships that China has with Russia and that China and Taiwan has with America economically. Here to give us a little bit of insight about, is this really a gaffe or is the president serious? Here is Dr. Horn from the University of Houston, who is a professor of race and history. And we are always happy to have our dear brother on to the show. Dr. Horn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. In a few moments, we'll be bringing in our culture crew member, Jules P., hip hop artist and activist. All right, Doc. Wow. So you've been. Let me start the conversation here, Doc, because I'm trying to figure out where did we go left with this whole situation. You have been saying since this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict has started that we need to keep our eyes on China. We need to make sure that we understand the implication because of China's interest in America, China's relationship, the friendly relationship China has with Russia, and of course, China's capability, not just militarily, but just economically, and their involvement in so much of in so much, foreign policy issues that we need to keep our eyes on China, right? But then the president says these words, and I want to play the clip that we have from the president himself. Keenan, let's run that clip.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
You are.
That's the commitment we made. That's the commitment we made. We are not, look, here's the situation. We agree with a one China policy. We signed on to it, and all the attendant agreements made from there. But the idea that it can be taken by force, just taken by force, is just not appropriate. It will dislocate the entire region and be another action similar to what happened in Ukraine. And so it's a burden that is even stronger.
That was President Biden today. Now, he said those remarks during a joint press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo. And when he was asked if the U.S. would be willing to go further to help Taiwan in the event of an invasion like Ukraine, that was his response. Dr. Horn, he's willing to go hard in the paint on China, expressing military action with it wasn't like he would say, well, let me check this out. Even though his team is saying, no, we're going to walk back these statements. But that wasn't the response that we got when we talked about Russia invading Ukraine. What's the difference here? Why is this a gaffe, or is he serious about this?
Well, I'm afraid to say that I can make a gaffe with regard to articulating U.S. foreign policy. You can make a gaffe with regard to articulating U.S. foreign policy. The president does not make a gaffe. He sets policy. And he clearly deviated from the policy of strategic ambiguity, as it is called artfully. But if you look at that clip, Mr. Biden was not unsure. He did not stumble. Even after the journalists expressed a bit of bafflement at his response, apparently recognizing the change that was being made, he elaborated upon it. And I think that we're entering very dangerous and difficult waters. Foreign policy experts, including the still alive 99-year-old Henry Kissinger, former U.S. Secretary of State 50 years ago when the overtures to China were made, have oftentimes suggested that the lodestar of U.S. foreign policy should be to drive a wedge between Moscow and Beijing. But Mr. Biden seems to be driving them together. Recall that the other gaffe that he made some weeks ago when he suggested that Moscow was ripe for regime change. Now, this is an overestimation, it seems to me, of the military capability of the United States of America. I dare say that the Chinese missiles, which they have accumulated in large numbers, could turn these U.S. aircraft carriers in the South China Sea into rubble quite quickly. Not only that, I don't think that Mr. Biden's allies, U.S. allies, will necessarily be on board. The Germans and the French are busily making fortunes trading with China, and they have had virtual summits with President Xi Jinping in the past few weeks where they have reaffirmed their close relationship to the People's Republic of China. Mr. Biden apparently expects South Korea and Japan to be on side, but he may be underestimating the strength of the peace movement and the anti-militarism movement, particularly in Japan, the only nation that has been subjected to atomic weapons by the United States, you recall, in August 1945. So I think that Mr. Biden has gotten a bit ahead of himself. That's why the staff is busily trying to walk back his comments. But as I said at the top, the president does not make gaffes with regard to U.S. foreign policy. He asserts and articulates U.S. foreign policy. And now we're in a brave new world thanks to Mr. Biden.
This is hard to accept considering the relationships that are already there. Talk to us. How do you think China will respond? And how do you think Russia will respond?
Well, with regard to China, as you and your audience, I'm sure, recognize, China has trillions of dollars in debt from the United States of America. In other words, China lends money. All this money is accumulated by selling all of these manufactured goods in the United States. They recycle it by buying U.S. Treasury bills, which are used to do everything from support the Pentagon to aid to education in the United States of America. In light of the fact that of late, in terms of the sanctions that Washington has put on Moscow, where Washington's Treasury bills have basically been seized by the United States to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, there has been serious discussion in China of dialing back their accumulation of U.S. debt, perhaps cashing in that debt. If that takes place, then the U.S. government will have to look for new sources of revenue, which will probably mean tax hikes, which of course is viewed as the mark of the devil with regard to the ascending Republican Party, or there'll be a cut in programs, a cut in food stamps, cut in aid to higher education, cut in aid to the homelessness, etc. China will not be pleased, I assure you, by this offhand remark by Mr. Biden. And quite frankly, I'm not even sure if Taiwan will be pleased, because I think that they would prefer a bit of ambiguity because Taiwan only has a population of 23 million. China, about 100 miles away, has a population of 1.4 billion. It would be no contest if China sought to invade, which is, I guess, why Mr. Biden was seeking to reassure Taiwan. But instead of reassuring Taiwan, I think he threw gasoline on the flames.
And that's my concern, Dr. Horn. The fact that he's a little bit, like you said, he's getting ahead of himself. He's throwing gasoline on the flame. The size of China versus Taiwan. And I like how you said that, you know, the fact that a lot of these, like Japan and other nations in that part of the world, are part of this anti-militarization, you know, campaign and thought process. I'm thinking, like, this is, what is the president essentially trying to accomplish here? And it just seems out of left field that we're having that in a press conference, he's talking about taking military action against one of the major superpowers on that side of the planet. And yet there has been no case laid out to the American people about the threat that China serves, considering what you just mentioned, the fact that America owes so much debt to China. I don't know if a lot of people really understand the significance and gravity of that. That as much as we like to talk about China or try to use propaganda against China, we owe China in this country. And so I'm just trying to think this through critically and without all of the policy, the political rhetoric, and just say, Mr. President, what are you thinking, sir? Considering all of this stuff that's happening, like, you really are talking about military action against China, and then you just did sanctions with Russia. Like this, you are putting this country in a position where there is a no-win possibility, a no-win solution.
Well, I think that the stakes are high. I mean, let's look at it from the point of view of Mr. Biden and his staff. Taiwan, even though it has a population, as noted, of 23 million, also contains one of the most important corporations on planet Earth. Speaking of Taiwan Semiconductor, which supplies the chips for your smartphones, increasingly for planes, automobiles, etc. Taiwan Semiconductor is about to build a plant in the United States, but is yet to be completed. If China was able to invade successfully Taiwan, meaning it would control Taiwan semiconductor, that in itself would be the game changer of all game changers.
Yeah.
And so I think that the pressure that Washington has placed itself under by, first of all, pouring billions into Ukraine at the same time that homelessness continues to stalk the land. And now Mr. Biden flying to South Korea and Japan, supposedly to reassure those allies. But apparently he had a sleepless night. And that has led to his being tongue-tied at this press conference today.
Wow. The man needs to get some sleep, Doc. The man needs to get some sleep. I mean, he's talking about international affairs, and he just comes out of his mouth with certain things. Folks, please join us in this discussion as we will post your comments. If you are checking in on our Facebook or YouTube page, we would love to hear what you have to say. Let me go to B Dizzle. B Dizzle came out with a couple of comments. I want to share this comment with him, and then we'll also get some questions, so some thoughts from Culture Crew member Jules P. So B Dizzle said, didn't they try to downplay Biden saying Russia needed regime change? Yes, they did. A Dizzle, I don't think they did it really well, though, because once you say it, it comes from the president of the United States, the most powerful person on the planet. Once you say it, it's already there. Dizzle also went on to say, well, shit, I wish Biden would get ahead of himself when it comes to black issues. He did. He did. Dizzle, remember at the inauguration, he said, I'm here for you. He got ahead of himself. He has yet to catch up to what he said. So he did get ahead of himself. This is always good to hear from you. Let me go to Mike V. Mike V checked in and said, strategic ambiguity. Mike, trust me, I'm not rolling my eyes because of your comment. I'm rolling my eyes because I'm thinking to myself, Dr. Horn, that would not make sense in this case. Or, I mean, I can see if it would be strategic neutrality, but not strategic ambiguity. You know what I mean? Like, okay, the president has already made the point. And Mike, thank you so much for your comment. The president's already drawn the line in the sand for where the country stand, quote unquote, with Russia and Ukraine. But now you would have to ramp up a campaign to get people to think that China is the next boogeyman. Considering how many Chinese Americans there are in this country, I mean, I would feel like that is a Herculean task to try to get over to the American people. So I'm not sure what the win is, what is their strategy in the communication or not.
Well,
What's your take on that, Doc?
Well, I think you have a point. With regard to the anti-Asian American sentiment, which is growing like wildfire, Mr. Biden's ratcheting up tensions with China, that's not going to help matters. I should also mention that there's something else that needs to be considered, which is that because of this anti-affirmative action mania that's gripped the United States, it has been difficult for major universities to accept Black Americans in particular for STEM, science, technology, math, engineering, et cetera, graduate programs. And so therefore, the United States is relied upon Chinese graduate students from the People's Republic of China. They pay full freight. They don't necessarily come with scholarships, which then helps to subsidize entire university graduate programs. If relations between the United States and China go south, China will probably be calling those graduate students back home. That will drive a hole through the budget of many universities in this country. And given the pre-existing anti-affirmative action mania, it's going to be difficult to fill those graduate school slots with Black Americans. And then look at this so-called Quad, which will be meeting in Tokyo within the next 24 hours. That's the so-called anti-China alliance, including United States, Japan, India, Australia. We've already talked about the anti-militaristic sentiment in Japan. Australia just had elections on Saturday. They've elected a Labour Party government, which is noticeably not hawkish, tending to be dovish. And India, as we all know, has positive relations with Russia. It has a bone to pick with China, but I don't think that India wants to be a battering ram against China for the interests of Washington. So Washington might find itself out on a limb, and reference here my pre-existing comment about the Europeans not necessarily being on board. The neighbors of China, speaking of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, are not necessarily on board. Look at Indonesia, which has the largest majority Muslim population on planet Earth. It has major investment from the People's Republic of China. So the United States, in a sense, has painted itself into a corner, and it's important for your listeners to recognize and your viewers to recognize that this stems from a deal made 50 years ago in 1972, when President Nixon, in order to weaken the then Soviet Union, cut a deal with China. And in return, China received massive foreign direct investment from the United States of America. That's where a lot of the jobs have gone in terms of steel plants, auto plants, et cetera. They've gone across the Pacific. And now it's created this juggernaut. But now it seems that Mr. Biden and those he represents wants to undo the impact of that deal made 50 years ago. But it's going to be like trying to unscramble an egg. It's not going to happen with ease.
There we go. Thank you. I want to bring in these other comments and from Janine and Davey. And then while we're doing that, let's bring in Culture crew member Jules P. really quickly to get his thoughts or his questions. And Jules, what's your question? What are your thoughts around this issue, man?
Thoughts are, one, it's not a gaffe, because clearly he, with the comment that was stated earlier, how he was so quick to answer. You know, we've seen President Biden struggle to talk on numerous occasions at that podium and in other different speeches. So the fact that he was able to answer so fast, I mean, that was at the forefront of his mind of something that he was, thinking of. And I also feel like it's kind of weird to me that statement that Doc made earlier. We gave how much to Russia, Ukraine? 33 billion, right?
The Congress just approved 40 billion, Jules.
40 billion. So, and then we owe China trillions, and we're going to help Taiwan with sending military against them.
If you're trying to figure out the math is mathing, it's not.
The math is not mathing.
The math isn't mathing on this.
Yeah, it's not mathing. Like, I don't understand what our rushes to always jump into everybody else's problems when we have so many problems to deal with here. But that's another topic for another segment, Farajii.
Let me tell you something. And Doc and Keena, let's bring, and that's a great point, but Jules and Keena, let's bring up these last couple of comments from our watchers. But Doc, I have to say, and I was talking to my dad over the weekend, just about the state of politics in this country, and I was expressing to him that we're so many people in this country, and I think both black and white people and Latinos and Native Americans, and so many people have such a low view of government at this point in this country. Like, it's all been studied. It's all been assessed and everything. I mean, very few Americans actually think that this government can change anything, do anything, or be better. And then my pop said something. He's like, son, we at this point, we just wanted to all end. I just I had to bust out laughing. It's like, he's like, seriously. He said, we just wanted to all end at this point. Like, we can't get a break. And it seems like this government is operating from a unilateral position without having real communication with the American people. And it's just like, oh, no, this is our interest. And we're supposed to catch up to the government instead of the government catching up to the interest of the people. And it's funny. It was funny in that moment, but then the sadness came over me, Doc. The sadness really came over me. And I was like, you know what? What is this? What is this? Go ahead, Doc. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, I understand your concern. I think we all should be concerned because, to put it bluntly, the United States seems to be sleepwalking into a major conflagration, a major
Right,
disaster,
right,
taking on two major military powers, both nuclear armed, Russia with probably more nuclear weapons than the United States of America, China rapidly catching up. As I suggested a moment or two ago, many of the foreign policy experts have suggested that to preserve US interests, you should try to drive a wedge between the two. Instead, the United States is driving the two together. And at the same time, the so-called allies are not necessarily on board. They're telling Mr. Biden, yeah, we'll hold your coat as you go into this boxing match in Moscow and Beijing. And we wish you good luck. And don't be surprised, however, if we're betting against you.
Let's go to these comments very quickly before we move on to this next conversation. Janine, I think I'm in agreement with you on this one, Janine. She said, I'm convinced the president has dementia, and 60% of the time he is living in 1996. Hey, y'all. RC checking in. RC, thank you, Janine. RC said, but y'all smile and say vote for them, lesser of two evils. We are done in this country. That was RC's. The lesser of two evils. I'm telling you, it's going to be like hell. Check this out. It's going to, and RC, let me tell you, it's going to be like hell to get people to come out and vote, whether it's the summer, the fall, and especially in November. It's going to take it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. If you are a voter registration person, you got some work to do. I'm telling you, you got some work to do. And it ain't on the people. It's not on, and please don't come to black people and say, oh man, y'all not voting. No, black people, we vote. We love to vote. It's ingrained in us. We heard this conversation, but this ain't about black people not voting or voting. This is about something very deeper. Dirty Red 76 said, old angry white men who play life and death games using old strategies, and we the people are the pawns. Remember, this is the man who had the mind state to author the crime bill. Well, let me just say this. That's been the case for a long, long time in this country. And in regards to his involvement with the crime bill, so were black people. Black people were there. And now, Dr. Horn, you know that history as well. Black people were there. We were all trying to figure it. I think a lot of black people were under the assumption that the government could come to their aid. They did not see the fact that stop and frisk and all of those other policing policies was going to be enacted. But black people were at the table on that, Dirty Reds. And then Gregory Harris says, it's a country that started out on a lie, and all you got is lies forever and ever until they own up. I'm still waiting on the part they owning up, Doc. Jules, I'm still waiting on that. And then Metric, 1974. Metric, let's get to Metric very quickly, and then we'll wrap up this conversation. Metric said, the faster we stop being delusional about these folks, the better off we'll be. Wow. Very, very sad. Dr. Gerald Horn, I apologize. I said Dr. Greg Horn, but I was getting you and Dr. Carr all mixed up here. But Dr. Gerald Horn, thank you so much, Professor of History and African American Studies at the University of Houston. Thank you, dear brother. I know that we're probably going to have to lock you in on Mondays live. Just to lock you in on Mondays. All right. So we'll have that conversation. Thank you so much. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Stacey Abrams and how one comment gotten her in hot water. But just like social media, you take that one comment out of context, and then guess what? You're trending. I'm going to share with you what Stacey Abrams, the gubernatorial candidate for the state of Georgia, has to say, and share with you what she did say, and we'll break it down. Also, later on, let's talk about this new poll coming out from the Washington Post, Ipsen poll, stating that more Black Americans are more fearful of racist attacks after the Buffalo mass shooting more than any other time in history. We'll have that conversation. So we still got a lot to get to. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punching!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Folks, looks like Georgia gubernatorial Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams is in hot water after she recently made a comment about the state of Georgia, the state that she's running for governor in. The candidates came out, and I want to share this quote. Cleaner, let's show the first quote of what Ms. Stacey Abrams had to say. She said, "I'm running for governor because I know that we have to have a conversation about who we are in this state and what we want for each other and from each other. I am tired of hearing about how we're the best state in the country to do business when we are in the worst state, when we are the worst state in the country to live." Now, everybody listen to what she said, folks. Take a look. She's saying that Georgia is the worst state to live in. Everybody took that and ran with it. Governor Brian Kemp, who's running for a second term, he was quick to respond. He made the statement just a few moments ago. He tweeted this on Saturday. He said, "Stacey Abrams may think differently, but I believe Georgia is the best state to live, work, and raise a family. And Marty, the girls and I will work hard every day from now until November to keep it that way for 4 more years." Now, I want to bring in culture crew member, hip hop artist and activist Jules P on this. Now, let me just share this with you too, Jules. That as we talked about, as she said that, this is why this is important, Jules, for folks to read and to listen and stop using people's word as clickbait. This is prime example of taking something out of context. And the very next phrase, this is what she said. Check. Let's pull up quote number 2 for us, Keenan, please. "Let me contextualize. When you're number 48 for mental health, when we're number 1 for maternal mortality, when you have an incarceration rate that's on the rise and wages that are on the decline, then you are not the number 1 place to live. Georgia is capable of greatness, but we need greatness to be in our governor's office. We need someone who actually believes in bringing all of us in there together. That was from Miss Stacey Abrams. Jules, she's trending right now on Twitter. She said these statements. Everybody's picking up on it. But it's like, did y'all hear the full quote?
Of course
not. No. No. So you're going to beat up on the woman, beat up on a sister because she says the worst state. Now, here's the other thing, Jules, and then I'll let you share your thoughts. Is she wrong, though? Is Georgia number one in maternal mortality? Is Georgia number 48 in mental health? Is she wrong? Here's what I appreciate about Stacey Abrams in this respect. Tell the people, even though it's not a popular opinion, tell the people the truth. And the truth is not popular opinion. Truth won't get you trending. People want to make up stuff. People want to take stuff out of context. If you're running for office, don't hype up the place you're running for office as if it's so great, because one, that is antithetical to what you are running for office for. If you are running for office for a great place, what's the point of you running for office?
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Then the second thing is, tell people the truth. You're running for office because there are particular reasons why. Number one in maternal mortality and number 48 in mental health. Two great reasons why you need to change leadership in the state. Jules, what's your take on this? And then we'll get some comments.
Definitely. So we're in an age, of course, where the headline sells, where the clickbait sells. So even with her having an actual full speech, it's not like she just like broke it up into separate parts. That was a full together speech. We just separated to see where the headline spark and the clickbait spark from. But we're in an age where nobody wants to read or wants to go into detail or wants to do the research or bring the proper, ideals from what was said and what was spoken to make sense of the statement. Even I looked at the statement, I was like, she could have been talking about the mental state. Everybody's assuming she's talking about the state. I say, what if she was talking about the mental state, saying how they rank number 48? There's only 50 states in the United States. Am I correct? Let's do it again. Now the math is mathing, Farajii. 50 states and we're ranked number 48.
Out of 50 states, and your state ranks 48 for mental health awareness, mental health care. That's not good.
But that's she's talking about the mental health state. That's the opinion that I can say. Also, I also agree with you too. So that you made a point that I was actually going to bring up. So, one, just bringing the issues to light. It's important for us and this is for the state of Georgia. I mean, especially since she's running, but it's important for them to know what's going on, because a lot of people, again, you live in your everyday life, you're working your 9-to-5s or your overnight shifts or whatever shifts you're working. You kind of sort of don't really pay attention to every single detail, especially if the news is kind of repetitive on a daily and consistent basis. So if she's bringing to light other problems that you didn't know about, that's somebody that I trust. Hey, they're doing the research, they're stating the problems. Now, I'm running on a basis to fix and address these problems. Now I have my platform. So she basically laid out her platform to run now. She has the issues that she's targeting. She's making us aware of them. So we know that she's going to be going full throttle to go and achieve to get those issues changed and corrected. I think about it all the time. I said, the jobs I've taken when I was coming up. Well, when I became supervisor at different departments, I didn't get a department that was well running oiled machine. The reason I became a supervisor is because there were issues either from the previous supervisor or on the current situation of the team that need to be fixed and addressed. And it's on my job to fix that, address it, and move the department forward. Well, that's where she's running her campaign off of, which I think is brilliant. But the problem is they do not want to read the full entire story when somebody speaks. It's always the clickbait. It's always the headline. It's whatever you can fit in that first little blog when you go on social media that can be, hey, she said this, or this was stated, to make it seem like a bad, take. And then you have other candidates or current candidates now using that as their, well, I think we're great. Yeah, that's the problem. You're not addressing the actual real issues. You're sitting so high up that you don't see what's going on below you.
Let me just say that. Let's deal with the fact that in this country, Jules, and I'm looking at this story on the New York Post website, NewYorkPost.nypost.com. And some of these people, of course, they sound like they're Republicans, but some of these people comments are just crazy. This is not our comments. Let me just put that. This is not from us, but I'm just reading. Some people say, how can one be so ignorant in politics and have so many supporters? That's right. Liberals are ignorance by proof of who is the president. This other person says, love them Dems, keep alienating the voters. Let's go red wave. Obviously a Republican supporter. My point is, people do not want to hear the truth. That's the problem with America. It starts from leadership and then it goes all the way down, Jules, to the American people, to us, right? So we get this in our mind, and this is to Governor Brian Kemp. Oh, this is the greatest state. How are you going to say it's the greatest state when you got so many problems? There's no state, and y'all can check me on this. Name one state in the United States of America that don't have a plethora of problems right now.
Yeah.
One. I'll wait. There's not one. You can't even go to, you probably say Maine or Rhode Island. They got problems with people up to there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one state that don't have problems. Now, here's the thing, and this is the crazy part, and this is just this story and the people's response, because people are mad at Stacey Abrams, but this is just indicative of how we in this country think that because we are in this boundaries or in this border, that makes us great. Hell no. Just because you live here, you automatically great. No. Greatness just don't come because of your simple existence.
Right.
You know, it doesn't happen like that. Like if a state is now here's a woman who studies policy. That's the other thing, Jules.
Right.
Study policy.
Right.
She understands where the state is. And one of our watchers, they said she came with receipts. She not going to just put some bobo data out there, right?
Exactly.
She's just not going to just make up some shit and be like, yeah, I told y'all it's the worst state. Like, ask the mothers who are suffering in Georgia if it's the best state in the country. Ask those who suffer from mental health issues if it's the best state in the country. Come on. But we don't want to hear the truth in this country, bro. That's the problem. We get so offended if somebody says that America is not great, if a state is not great. We do not like to hear the truth. And personally, I'm tired of hearing politicians who are running on platforms to talk about the greatness of wherever they are running, right? And it's like, well, if it's so great, then why do we need you?
Mm-hmm.
If it's so great, then why are people suffering the way they're suffering? I don't get it. I thought public servants were supposed to serve all of the public, not just a quarter of the public, a partial view of the public. No, I just don't understand it. And Jules, one of the things that got me about this story is the fact that at the end of the day, if we can't even come together or have a consensus or an agreement about the problems, then how are we going to do that to discuss solutions?
Hey, Farajii, I'm going to show you a prime example. And I know this is just for the show. This is just for us, our conversation purposes. Look at our headline. Abrams, Georgia, worst state in the country. People see that. They won't even go research what was said. They just use their opinion right off of that. Oh, I'm not rocking with her. She said this is the worst state. Or, oh, let's people from other states. Oh, Georgia is the worst state of the country. It's like you look at the headline. You won't even read the story. The headline catches you. That's what we're looking at. I'm looking right. I'm like, why are you talking? I'm like, this is what the world sees. They don't see that she's bringing facts, receipts, statistics about justifying and validifying her opinion or what she stated. They see the headline and immediately opinion form.
Well, and to your point, I mean, the headline grabs attention, and so that's another thing. Like when I saw the headline, when I went on Twitter and I saw that she was trending, I was like, well, why is Stacey Abrams trending? You know, she trends for a lot of different reasons.
But you went
and then I saw the statement, and I was like, did she really say that Georgia? Because this is how it was presented. Stacey Abrams said Georgia is the worst state in the country. Yet she owns a couple of homes in the state that she's trying to run. How does that make sense? So she owns homes, dumbass. Then do you think that doesn't make sense, bro?
I saw that too.
She got 2 residences in the worst state, and then you're trying to finagle her. You're trying to take her words out of context to make her seem like she crazy.
Hey, Farajii, it's like saying Jules doesn't like chocolate but owns Reese's and Snickers.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. I don't understand. I don't understand. And see, and folks, I want y'all to comment on this, so share your thoughts on this. But this is exactly what's wrong with America. We don't read. We do not look. I'm gonna say it. We don't read in this country, man. Like this reading, writing. Remember back in the day, it was like reading, writing, arithmetic, right? I never understood the R's, the 3 R's, because arithmetic is A. Never understood that, but it is what it is. But reading, writing, arithmetic. Reading was the first thing. And the best thing is to read things to its full context. Mm-hmm. And in this day and time, in 2022, the American people, I know without a shadow of doubt, and y'all can debate me, we do not like to read nothing beyond 200 and something characters, 140 characters. We don't like to read the full story. We read and react. That's what we do. We read a little something. We read the first few sentences of a story, and then we just boom, we take it to social media. This is crazy. This is wrong. I'm never going to vote for her. But then we don't ask questions. Why would she say that if she owns 2 homes? Why would she say that if she's running for governor? Why would she say that? We just don't get it. All right, let's go. People are checking in. Let's hear what they got to say. Let me get some comments here on this whole situation. Brother King Lee said, I love my home state of Georgia, but I don't love the police violence there. So that is one of the main reasons why I'm residing here in Europe. Yeah, Brother King Lee, we know you all up in Europe, and you're right. You're right. You mentioned in your comments also that you're from DeKalb County. So you understand it. You understand it. Shalinda checked in and said, hey, fam, you're right. It's hard to get voters out, but thank you for keeping up the good fight. You're absolutely right, because Stacey Abrams is going to need some help.
Yes, she is.
Because people don't read. B Dizzle checked in, said the GOP does this every single day. They will take anything the other side says and spin and twist it to their advantage. Betting people won't take the time to read full statements and just react. Let me tell you, that is going to be our downfall, or it is our downfall in this country. We do not like to read. And Dirty Red says Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp are talking to 2 different voters. Yeah, they are. They are. Brian Kemp wants to talk to his base. Stacey Abrams is trying to talk to her group. But the reality is the truth will either bring people together, they'll bring people to the table, or they will make people just run away. And let me say this, folks. We should be encouraging anyone that's running for office to tell us the truth. I'm so sick and tired of somebody trying to shape tell me a narrative or a story about a reality that I see with my own eyes.
There you go.
But they're trying to tell me the sky ain't blue. No, man, we don't have crime in the city. We have people that need mental health help. Okay, that may be true, but they still robbing, shooting, and busting cats in the head.
Right.
So that's a crime, right? That's a problem. You know what I mean? That's insulting the intelligence of any kind of voter. And we have to get out of the culture, Jules. And you can, I would love to get your thoughts on this. We got to get out of the culture of loving to be lied to. That is one of the biggest issues I see within our culture. We may not say it outright, but our actions speak more volumes than words. We love to be lied to, especially when it comes to where we're from in this country.
Exactly. And it's like the part that even more focuses on that, even with headlines, is like how we're talking about, even with social media, like what you're not reading, you're just going to go based off of what that first tagline says. Or like you said, if we actually do open an article, we're only reading the first 2 sentences because our mind can't process past 150 characters via Twitter. So it's just like we don't get the full story until we actually read and do in-depth research. And that takes away a lot of times from points being made. I mean, you have journalists all the time that write articles. Articles aren't 150 characters. They're full-page excerpts. I mean, remember reading newspapers? I mean, I know I'm talking to a different generation sometimes, but there was a thing called newspapers back in the day where you got to deliver to your house and you read the article. They wrote full stories. You didn't read the first 2 lines and I'm done with this paper after you pay that subscription every month to get the paper. Like, we read. I remember my father getting the newspaper and I would go through there. You know, as a kid, you would go through the funny section first. I would go through the comics, but as I got older and older, I started reading the stories in the front. Then I would say, well, let's jump into this different section to read on what's going on in different parts of the world and what's going on in the country. Like, you have to read. Like, I don't understand. Well, I do understand. Again, we live in this facade, like you said, we like to be lied to. I mean, that's social media in general. People all the time stunning, you know, showing their lifestyle, everything good, but nobody ever posts the real. It's always the accomplishments. It's never the journey or the struggle or the setback or the real life reality of what they're actually dealing with. I could be millions of dollars in debt, but I'm a stun on this yacht in Miami to show people I'm still living and getting it.
Right. And here's the thing, and this is the thing. Let me get, and I'm gonna get to DeAndre comment. The thing is, if we can't be honest about where we are in this country, how do we expect to make progress?
Right.
It's like the old, you know, situation. If you have a problem, whether it's with narcotics, whether it's with alcohol, any type of addiction, the first thing that they teach you is what? Acknowledge the problem.
There you go.
That's the first thing.
Step 1.
Is America sick? Yes, America is on her deathbed, as I was taught, right? Like, we have a lot of problems in this country. So why are we looking and expecting our political leaders to give us some fuzzy, feel-good report about the state of this country, and we know we sick? I mean, look, man, 2022, if you got thin skin in terms of where we are in this country, I can't help you. I would rather have a political leader to tell us the truth. Like, look, man, we got a gun problem in this country. Our babies are being raised on violence. Our taxes are too high. Student loans, these colleges are ripping us off with this low quality education, but they got a high price tuition. I mean, just give us the truth, and don't insult our intelligence. That's the thing. Don't insult our intelligence and making us believe that American exceptionalism is great, as if America's number one in all of the necessary important categories. We're not number one in education. We're not number one in healthcare. We're not number one in economics. We're not number one in social issues and social justice. Come on. These are things that are important to people.
Right.
And guess what? We're not number one in those places compared to other places around the globe. We're not. All right, let me go to DeAndre. DeAndre, thank you so much for your comment. Check this out. Let's post it. Farajii, that intentional mischaracterization of Stacey's words reminds me of that conservative media host that intentionally mischaracterized Roland's words. Yep. And made a whole new segment about it. Shaking my head. Absolutely. Took Brother Roland's word right out of context. Next thing you know, he got to break a joker down to the greatest and least compound to let them know you took my words out of context.
Right.
But it shouldn't have to be that way. It shouldn't have to be that way. I have not met anybody, whether you black or white, Republican or Democrat, have not met anybody that says, you know what, schools, there should not be better schools in this country. I have not met anybody that says, you know what, we should keep infrastructure just falling apart. You're right. I mean, nobody says dumb stuff like that. Not in a public space.
Oh, yeah,
But
not publicly.
I think that is absolutely correct. We just mischaracterize people. And it's an attempt. You know, we know Stacey Abrams has ruffled a few feathers politically across this country. And she's a major powerhouse voice for progressives in this country. She's a black woman. So we understand all of those things. But guess what? I know that there are going to be some black people, Jules, that probably see that headline and be like, man, Stacey talking about Atlanta.
Yep.
Man, she don't even love people in Atlanta. Stacey live in Atlanta.
Right. Look, and
you know what I'm saying?
She
stomps. That's her stomping ground, bro.
And to bring up that point you said,
you always got to follow up the lie with truth.
Right.
Right? Because guess what? That well-dressed lie is always going to present itself rather than as being a better option to that naked truth.
Right.
So I just let me say I just had to put it out there, folks. If you see this story, don't fall for the okie doke, for the bobo. Let her look. I'm not saying you can vote for whoever you want to, but vote for somebody that's going to tell you the truth, at least to some degree. Versus somebody that's going to, you know, titillate your ears and excite your fancy. Instead of just saying, hey man, here's what it is. Here's what it is. So we had to bring that conversation up. All right, hey Jules, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about a new poll from the Washington Post and Ipsen, how they said that most Black Americans are fearful of the next racial attack after the Buffalo mass shooting. We'll break down the numbers into that. Also later, let's talk about Exotic Pop. This is a Black-owned beverage company that is looking to be exclusive. But my question is, Black folks have been shut out of a lot of different things. Do we really want to have other Black folks making us excluded from something that we should all have access to? I'm just asking a question. I like the idea, but I'm just asking a question. So we'll have this conversation. Plus, we got trends posting doing the most. So stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the second hour of today's show of The Culture right here on Black Star Network. We wanted to have a conversation about a new poll that has just been released. And this is a poll from the Washington Post Ipsen poll that showed that nearly 3/4 of Black Americans fear being physically attacked because of race. Now, we're at a very pivotal point, and this week we're going to do something very special, which is to look at where we are in this country 2 years after George Floyd. Actually, on Wednesday of this week will mark the 2-year commemoration that we have for the death of George Floyd. And 2 years after George Floyd, nearly 8 in 10 Black Americans say they have little or no improvement in how police treat Black people. Now, this is in regards to Black people and police relations. But I want to share this quote with you very quickly, Clean, and let's post this next quote, please, brother. That according to the Washington Post Ipsen poll, 70%, folks, majority of Black Americans think at least half of white Americans hold white supremacist beliefs. 75% of Black Americans say white supremacists are a major threat to Black Americans. And 66% say white supremacy is a bigger problem today than it was 5 years ago. I want to bring back Culture Crew member Jules P., hip-hop artist and activist, as we have this conversation. And, of course, we'll continue to take your comments. So share your comments and share your thoughts with us, and we'll get to those comments as soon as we can as we're having this conversation. But this poll breaks down a lot around what we're seeing in this country, Jules. I want to go back to that point that we're saying 70% of majority of Black people think at least half of white Americans hold white supremacist belief. That's a lot. That's a lot on this side, on our side. That's a lot in thinking that white people hold these white supremacist beliefs. 75% of Black Americans say that white supremacists are a major threat, and 66%. I mean, how do you make sense of all of this? Do you feel like this is an accurate poll of where we stand in this country?
From our perspective, yes, because those are our version of terrorists. We don't really, and I want to say this the correct way. It's like the United States view of terrorists versus our view of terrorists are two different terrorists or organizational groups. And I do agree with the number for that poll stating that, that's a big chunk. And I'm sitting here trying to think, I feel like majority of that poll, and I didn't vote in the poll. I didn't know the basis of the poll. So I'm just going to shoot out an idea. I feel like, and you made a statement literally in your opening segment, I feel like police brutality is considered a part of that poll. And we've constantly seen that even since George Floyd. It was just like, a week later, another incident. Like it was just like back to back. It's like it didn't matter. It didn't matter that it became a national and global issue that was broadcast to the world of how we react and how we responded. It was like the next day, the next week. And it's just like that, I feel, is a major part of the white supremacy ideal. Is not just, a random, loser like the last one going into Buffalo and doing what he did to our aunts and our ancestors, and our aunts and our elders. But it was more so like, hey, this police brutality thing is still, we still consider those in different areas still, supremely racist and a part of white supremacy.
And I think, excuse me, and I think that's the issue. That's the issue. The fact is, when we look at these numbers, and I want to break down some of these numbers here very quickly, folks, because I don't think this poll is off by any means. I think a lot of Black people in this country are, feeling somewhat on edge. This is what Lana, one of our faithful watchers, she said it. She said, "I can't lie, I'm more on edge now." And I think a lot of us are on edge. And it is crazy that in 2022, we're talking about 2 years from the death of George Floyd, 2 years after, quote unquote, some would say, as a racial reckoning has took place, 2 years from protest in the streets, 2 years of having all of this these other conversations on a corporate level to a community level about white supremacy and, you know, structural racism in 2 years, just 2 years, that's a very short period of time, folks. More Black people are afraid of the next racist attack. Just 2 years. So we can, if that is the case, then we can say with some certainty that nothing has changed. And guess what, Jules? That's sad. That's really sad, brother, because if nothing has changed, right, it wasn't as if we don't want change, but America is not willing to change. And that's the part that I think a lot of us, we have to, like, we're still grappling with. We believe that race relations and racism in America is just going to naturally get better, disappear, or we either believe that this is this will forever be here. I've had conversations with a number of people that say, well, racism was always going to exist. And I try not to believe that to be the truth, but it's hard not to believe that's going to be the truth, because guess what? As much as this country says racism is bad, this country has also said it's bad, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
What's your take, bro?
And I also think about it when you're saying 2 years ago, which is mind-boggling, because what else happened 2 years ago? The election. And what was the basis of the debates? Race relations towards African Americans. What has changed? Nothing. They had 2 years. I mean, I just, that's why we don't have faith in our government. That's why we don't have faith in our current, you know, local government as well. It's just, nothing has changed. Nothing has been identified. There hasn't been any plans solidified. You know, I'm not going to say that things haven't been worked on from our aspect and trying to gain into government to, you know, fix problems and create bills and laws and things. But it's just like there has been no solid plan, like we discussed last week, or progress made where we're able to say, hey, we feel safe in this country that we live in, that we're able to go to a grocery store to go shopping, or we're able to go to the store without being abused by police. It's just, we don't feel that sense of comfort yet. We're still living in a sense of fear that anytime we walk outside, anything happen. I mean, I remember, you know, it's you know, just talking to, you know, young Black women, young Black men, you know, we get that speech that white kids don't get about what to do when you get pulled over.
Right.
We get that speech. Not white kids don't get that speech.
Nope.
And it's like that's a major. We're going to constantly live in fear because it's taught to us at a young age. We pass it down to our, you know, it was passed down to me. I passed it down to youth coming up under me. Like it's just, you know, how to react, how to respond, what to do, where to keep your hands, what to say. Like, you know, that's just the world we're living in, and there's no progress clearly because we're still passing on the conversation instead of passing on the conversation of what was changed, what was done, what was implemented to make us feel safer in this society.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, we would love to hear your take on this. Share your comments as we have this discussion about a new Washington Post Ipsen poll that says that more Black Americans are fearful of the next racist attack more so than in any other period, and a high number of Black folks feel like, you know, the relationship between the Black community and the police has not improved, especially 2 years after George Floyd was killed just 2 years ago. Let me also share this part about this as we get in our comments in. It says that the post-Ipsen poll of Black Americans finds most are saddened and angered by the attacks, but just 8% say they are surprised. Even before the shooting and earlier poll questioning, Black people saw racism as one of their greatest threats. After the attack, only 10% think the problem of racism will improve in their lifetimes, while a 53% majority think it will get worse. I mean, we are constantly living in fear in this country, Jules.
Yep.
That's why I go so hard, and that's why we've gone so hard, especially last week when we've been talking about this attack in Buffalo. It's like thoughts and prayers aren't enough.
Right.
thoughts and prayers aren't enough. Like, you imagine if your community has to live, your people got to live in fear every single day. Like, we wake up in fear, we go to sleep in fear, whether it's fear of ourselves, whether it's fear from the police, whether it's fear from some deranged white supremacist, whether it's fear of some structural policy that keeps us at bay and making the type of gains and progress that we deserve to get. I mean, we're constantly living in a state of fear in this country. Constantly. And it's a real problem. And there have been a number of studies, Jules, to show that as much pressure and burden that we live in this country, and the fact that of course accounts for the sickness that we have been experiencing, the physical health, we are still striving. We are still making some strides in various industries. Black women are doing some great things, but we're in a state where it just seems like it's never going to end. And the worst part about it, brother, and you can share your thoughts about this. The worst part about this environment that we live in is that it diminishes people's hope to believe that a new day is coming for Black people in this country. We lost hope, bro. What's your take?
I think it also starts locally, because I can't look towards, the president as our savior. I can't look for, the White House, Congress. I can't look forward to even sometimes your local government. I mean, it just starts with community. I feel like, once we fully regain taking back our communities, and I know a lot of cities do this properly, it starts in our community. And, I remember, I was having conversations when Freddie Gray was killed in police custody. And, it was the whole conversation of, remember when it was officer friendly? Remember when that officer used to pull up? And I see a lot on social media now, which, I mean, it does bring some light, where you see the kids playing basketball and the police officer pull up in full uniform while they're playing and go drop 10 quick points on them, like just showing them, I'm more than just a police officer. It's like, it's good to see positive images, and I feel like that needs to be placed out there. But the problem is, we see that in other states and other cities, and it's not effective in the cities and states that we live in. So that's why we feel the fear of the police brutality or the fear of the white supremacy, because we don't see that in our cities and our states. It goes on, like it happens, and some of it's not recorded. I mean, I had an interaction with a police officer that wasn't recorded during the Freddie Gray situation. But, it's hard to compound that with, hey, this is what makes us feel safer, knowing that we have these officers or these people of other color that are, interacting with us in a positive way, trying to kill a narrative of what's going on in our community. So, I mean, I see I understand the fear, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let me go to the comments and hear what folks got to say. DeAndre. Let me go to Davi Willem. I think it's Davi Willem. That's the first comment. Racism will be here until Jesus comes. I hope not. I hope not. I mean, I know that might be the belief, but I'm serious. I hope not. I think we can eradicate racism in this country. It's going to take some work, though, on both sides, on both, for Black people and especially for white people. So I hope that isn't the case. DeAndre checked in and said, look, it took general and mobile technology to reach another level of advancement to allow for us to actually provide footage to prove what we have been saying for years about various injustices that we face. You're right. You're right. A number of people didn't see it. I mean, we had to take the Emmett Till approach, right? Show people how serious it is. Hotep Pan Africa. That fear contributes to both our mental and physical dis-ease. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Dizzle, my man B Dizzle said, look, I remember something DL said. The most dangerous place for a black person is living in a white man's imagination. We're in constant survival mode and we can't afford to see us as those privileged too. There is a price to pay when you're constantly on guard. Like if you can't let your guard down, if you can't be yourself and you always like, constantly in survival mode. I used to hear a lot of brothers when I would say stuff like, peace, brother, how are you today? Maintain it. Or survive it. That's not living. That's not being. That's like a very base level form of existence, right? Where you just maintaining, surviving, like, damn. Like that's not good for a human to be at that space. Now, I'm not condemning them. I'm just saying that the language speaks volumes about the state of mind. So if you just maintain it, surviving, that means that you really are in constant conflict. You know what I mean? You never get your head above the water, as they used to say. You never really be able to enjoy life. So I always challenge brothers to change that type of thinking. P&F Lord of Crickets. They said, I have not lost hope. We run our community. White supremacists don't scare me. You are misinforming the people. Am I really misinforming the people? You may not have lost hope, but check with your neighbors. Have they lost hope? And when you say white supremacists don't scare me, that's the one 18-year-old white supremacist. But what about the big white supremacists that are down at your local state house or in your police department?
How about it?
Or in your school system? Now, yeah, you may stop an 18-year-old, right? But can you stop them when they're making policies? When they're making those decisions about the quality of your life? When they make it, whenever, I don't know what neighborhoods you have P&F Florida Crickets, but if whatever city or state or neighborhood community you're involved in, who's running those decision-making, who's making the big decisions in your area? Now, you may not have lost hope, but I think a lot of people have lost hope, man. We're tired. We're tired of fighting. And I'm not saying that to be facetious or to try to throw shade on anybody. I'm just saying that to say that you say, how do you know you're tired? Because we keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's just not about insanity. That's also, I believe, about, not knowing what else to do. And we're in that space, Jules. You know what I'm saying? We keep trying to rehash the same quote unquote solutions instead of taking a risk to be saying, hey, you know what? This hasn't worked for the past 20 years. Let's try this now. You know what? This philosophy hasn't worked for the past 30 years. Let's try to believe this now. You know what? We haven't gotten resources from this place for the past 40 years. Let's try to build something for ourselves. Those conversations aren't happening. When we do bring up those conversations, those black folks and black men and black women are looked at like we crazy. You know what I mean? They be like, what? A third party? It will never happen. And then we sometimes, we will sometimes, extinguish the light of hope within ourselves. So, I mean, I hope a P&F Cricket, Lord of Crickets, please, if you got some hope, send it through me too, man. Send me some hope. Brother King Lee said, actually, many black Americans have gained more hope, so not all is lost. Stay strong, stay vigilant, stay black. What have most black Americans gained hope in? I would love to take a King Lee. You know, you my man. So let me know where have we gained more hope in? Because this one's saying that if we have lost hope in how this country has dealt with the race problem, where have we gained hope in? Economics? Have we gained hope in the educational system? Have we gained hope in the healthcare system? I mean, I can break it down to you and tell you, look at what COVID-19 did in terms of shining a light on the disparities in healthcare. Let's look at the fact that, you know, you got states that are removing Black history. That don't gain nobody hope. Where have we gained hope in? Just asking the question, brother. Damon Blissett, my man, said, I have one child, 17, a son who just graduated high school on Friday. Congratulations, Damon. I saw you posting about that. I hope he had a great time. I remember that time. Jules, I remember when you graduated too. I gave him the speech often. I want him to come home safe. Talking about what's your point, Jules? You got to. I always ask people, my son is 8. When should I have that speech with him? They said now. Some brothers tell me now, Jules. Like, you know, had that speech about police and Black boys. Have it now. I said, all right, I'll probably wait till he's about 10. Give him another year or two, because he loves the police. He you know what I mean? He talks sometimes like that. Maybe I should be a police officer. So, you know, we're going to cultivate that. Right. And then Calvin checked in. Calvin Thomas says, why don't I see conversation about more Black men bearing arms and protecting their neighborhood? We can have a conversation about that. Let's have a balanced and smart conversation about that. But the way policy are going in this country, I don't think that's going to stand too long, because some of these Republican-controlled states, hell, they take away your voting rights. You know they're going to take away your right to bear arms. Now, you might say, well, that's the Constitution and it's ensured by the Constitution. Do you really believe that these people are actually following the Constitution? I mean, seriously. Seriously. Freedom of speech, right to bear arms, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Do you really believe that some people in power give a damn about the Constitution? And sports, my man, sports actuary, said the truth of the matter is that unless these terrorist attacks against us become much more frequent, we are still 100 times more dangerous to each other. I don't know, sports. I don't know if we're 100 times more dangerous, but the terrorist attacks don't have to become frequent because we are already thinking a certain way. So you don't need a gendrin to run up in your neighborhood. I saw somebody say this, Jules, and you know, I wanted to bring it to your point. I saw somebody say that we should watch the video of gendrin to see how serious and how bad, how hate is, right? We need to see how serious the hate is. We don't need to see the serious we don't need to see a video for that. Just open a book. Right. There's a great book called Beyond Sanctuary. And it's a book about lynchings in America. It's a picture book. And it has pictures of Black people being lynched in this country. I don't need to see gendrin shooting and killing our people. Just read a book. In 2022, if you don't know that Black people are hated, I don't know what to help with. I don't know what to say to you. Read a book. I don't need to see that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just using that as a point, bro, but I don't need to see that. Like, that's not going to encourage people. I remember back in the day, they used to show us Eyes on the Prize. Remember that, bro? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in class as a little boy, and they would be every Black History Month, they would say, oh, here's Eyes on the Prize. They play it. And they would be like, and I mean, it's actually a great documentary. But they kept showing the parts that we were being hosed down and beaten over the head. And they showed John Lewis and all of those folks, right? And they kept playing it and playing it. And I would think to myself, like, damn, man, like, when do we have images of us standing up to the dogs and to the police? I mean, you got to think about what the imagery does to your mindset as a black boy, as a black girl. And you know, you take that out of context. That's not the history of black people. Didn't just start with slavery and civil rights and Jim Crow, but that was the image that was constantly put in. And I was like, damn, man, what happened to us standing up? So we looking at our grandparents getting beaten down and women thrown on the ground. Like, how was that empowering? We should see it, but we needed to see it in its proper context.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the problem is. So it's hard to empower black youth. It's hard to empower black Americans. So, bro, I'm gonna let you talk, man, because I don't want to take up all the time when I'm done. But I just, just sharing some of those thoughts and comments. But what's your take on any of this, bro? Your final thoughts?
It's so crazy from what you were saying about the eyes on the prize. It's like that image, seeing it as a kid, us getting hosed down. It's like, again, this is back in the 90s when I was in school. I didn't even think of mental health in the 90s. And then now we're in 2022 and all the conversations of mental health. It's like, that's a part of mental health. Looking at, seeing those images, it's like it doesn't even dawn on us that's like, hey, man, like seeing that can be traumatizing to some. Not saying that we don't have people that don't want to, like, yeah, people like us, who will talk about it, in the community, we front line, we make change, we there. But you have another section of us who aren't at that stage yet, and they still look at that as a traumatizing image, and that's what they're seeing. So when they're doing these polls, that's reoccurring in their heads of, we've been dealing with this for so long.
Yeah,
we haven't fought back in their minds. We haven't stood up in their minds. So that's why I see how the comments, I'm reading the comments that we're getting. It's like, I can understand the back and forth. Like, I understand both sides. I'm not here to say who's right and who's wrong. But I understand both sides, but I'm going to say that there's still a majority fear. So whatever communities that you live in that, y'all are doing a damn thing, well, network out to the other communities so we can take your same strategies and apply them. Because in communities that I live in, that I'm around, we don't have that. So what is working for you that we can apply here so that we can spread that message so we can get that percentage down from 70 to 60, then from 60 to 45. Let's bring that percentage down with that information and knowledge that you're doing in your community, because I appreciate that hearing somebody that got their community doing a lot like that. I respect that. So what are y'all doing that y'all can pass down to the various communities that are voting in these polls that can help them out?
Right. Well, folks, we see the poll is out there. My hope is that by us bringing this poll to it, and y'all should check out the full details of this poll from Washington Post Ipsos, but just see it. And it just gives you a snapshot about where we are, and it helps us to bring us into a different reality, because some of us may think that things are getting better in this country, but in fact, more of our people are seeing things as getting worse when it comes to race relations. So it's interesting. I read it, found it to be very, very fascinating, and I hope you would do the same. Folks, we got to take a quick pause, Jules. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about Exotic Pop. This is the Black-owned beverage company that's looking to change the game by being exclusive when it comes to its marketing and targeting of consumers. So my question is, should Black people even have exclusive brands when we already have a very contentious history with exclusivity in general? So does it work in our favor? We'll have that conversation. And of course, we got Trends Post and Doing the Most. So stay with us. A lot to get you in the final 30 of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
All right, folks, we wanted to have a conversation about exclusivity. We found that in this modern day and time, exclusivity is one of the premier tactics to get new marketers, to get new consumers. But how about when it's Black exclusivity? This is the approach that one beverage company is taking to try to get its consumers. We're talking about Exotic Pop, folks. Exotic Pop. This is a Houston-based beverage company, Black-owned, known as the, quote, unique beverage boutique. They offer a rare, hard-to-find flavors of beverages and snacks that are sourced from all over the globe, and they promote creativity and individuality, which is a distinctly positive movement for pop culture as it draws legendary entertainers as well as soda connoisseurs together for a greater purpose. Now, the thing is, Exotic Pop sometimes can offer a can of soda. Check this out, folks, and I'm not making this up. They can sell a can of soda for $50. Yeah. But according to its website and to its founder, it says that it taps into the culture of exclusivity as it fetches out all of these different brands. Now, when we're talking about this culture of exclusivity, folks, when you're talking about a 12-ounce can of what they call a Dr. Pepper Fantastic Chocolate for the price of $50, or you can get a box of Michael Jordan Space Jam Wheaties for $500. According to the CEO and founder, Charleston Wilson, he said that everybody wants something that nobody has. And I'm wondering, is that a good marketing strategy? Let me bring back hip hop artist and activist Jules P., Culture Crew member. Jules, when you look at exotic pop and the approach that they made, now let's keep it real. I'm not talking about some mom and pop store, pardon the pun, some mom and pop operation, but because they actually were able to turn a profit. Just in 2021, they made $6 million in profit, which is really strong, right? It's a strong situation. But it's this whole idea of exclusivity. Now, and of course, I could be wrong, folks, so I don't mind saying that. But it's this whole idea, Jules, of having a Black company marketing itself on exclusivity. I mean, if you're selling $50 for a can of soda, $500 for a box of cereals, and, you know, because it's coming from all over the world, you justify, which is not a problem. I love that. But why make it exclusive when we as Black people have always been left out of so many other things? Why make this exclusive? What do you think the rationale really is behind this whole project and this whole marketing?
I feel like there's also been an advancement of some Black people in position and in life, not even just talking about entertainers, but I'm talking about, you know, people that just finally getting, you know, supervisor positions at a white job, or, you know, a white corporation, or manager positions. It's like now they're finally getting Blacks, African Americans involved in these jobs. So now there is a level of exclusivity that we can afford, if that makes sense. So now that we're actually finally getting in those positions where we're able to afford different things that we weren't able to afford before, you know, I understand how they're marketing. Like, I always look at it like, you know, even in different neighborhoods and communities that are not the wealthiest, it's still a lot of designer brands and designer labels being worn and purchased on a constant basis. So there is a market for exclusivity, regardless of what your financial background is, truth be told. I mean, there's always a way to get something. So I'm for it. And only reason I'm really for it, because I discovered about the company, I want to say 2 years ago, be what, 2020. I love, you know, I follow a lot of what Killer Mike does, and Georgia's, you know, the worst, you know, state, but, you know, I follow a lot of what Killer Mike does in Atlanta. And yeah, I remember when he was on the Breakfast Club talking about Coca-Cola, and that was the site that has it. I think they got it right now for like $50 on there. So it's like, I remember him talking about it, and, like, you know, I follow a lot of Killer Mike, because he's like I know my title says hip hop and activist. Like, no, he's hip hop, and he's that's my guy. I love listening to him talk. I love watching him. Like, I love how he moves. I love how he operates. So that's like my go-to of looking at for information a lot of times in my field of hip hop and activism. So I remember when he was, you know, first pitched Coca-Cola and was talking about it, and then I seen how much it was. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I get it. I mean, again, the exclusivity, I see your standpoint too. It's like, hey, I do a comparison, like, all right, we all know Jordans and LeBrons are like, you know, $200 in the stores. But then, you know, back in the day, you know, we old school basketball. We know Stephon Marbury had his shoes at Kmart.
Right.
And then Shaq just left his, part of a Reebok deal to get shoes in Walmart to make it affordable for people that couldn't afford, you know, the name brand shoes. So I get that part. So it's like, I understand, you know, making products for things that we can afford, but it's also about culturally dominating a market, because if you look at sodas now, like Sprite, Coca-Cola, let's say, we'll just go with the corporations, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, how much they sell their sodas for. And then you look at, you know, what
Right.
He had a product. He had a new product every day. Every day. But he teaches generational wealth. He teaches get product. He said your talent can only go but so far. Get product. Product is how you have your generational wealth go on for generations and generations and generations. I mean, he's taking stuff like noodles, cake mix, pancake mix, like anything that we buy from the store, he's put in his business scheme and his business model, his shoes. Like it just, I mean, so I understand it. Like, so I get it from both points. I mean, I see the exclusivity, but I also see from your standpoint, like, let's make it so we can still get access and gain to it. But I mean, I guess, you know, different business models for different, you know, strategic ways.
I mean, I get the different business model, and like I said, this is not a shade on having a soda company or having a beverage company. And I know some of our watchers, Janae checked in, and Janae made this point. Let's post Janae's comment around this. She said, I thought we were getting off of soda. And please stop giving it to your children. But soda doesn't have to be unhealthy. It just means to be carbonated. Right. It don't have to be unhealthy, though. Right. Soda water is not necessarily an unhealthy drink. You know what I mean? It just adds to it. But I've never tasted exotic pop. I would love to try it. But I'm just concerned that when you start to try to get it into a you know, an exclusive space, when you start to use that, like, hey, we if we make it exclusive, then more people will want it. And like you brought up Stephon Marbury, I remember reading an article about his shoes years ago. He said that he literally was making the same shoe factory as Nike was making theirs. Literally. And I think his shoes at the time was going for like $30, $40. They damn sure wasn't going for the same price that Nike was charging, right? Right. They were going for a fraction of that cost. But he said they literally was you know, making the shoes there. And I think that this speaks to where we are in the culture in terms of we love brands. Right. That's what it is. That's what it is. We just love brands. But see, I'm wondering, to us, like, that's something that's been a part of white culture, white retail culture for years, right? Like, if it don't have Abercrombie and Fitch on it, it's not real. Even though Abercrombie and Fitch stuff can be made in the same plant, same factory as something else, right? But we are brand oriented. This thing, you know, now I don't know what the, you know, I see Balenciagas. I was about to say that's what it is. Like Gucci brand, you be like, it's, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And you pay more for the name. And we all know this. The crazy part about it, Jules, like culturally, we all know that. We be like, you know, you pay more because of the name. Like, yeah. But the name is dope, though. Letting them know. You know, we always kind of play it off like, yeah, we letting them know. Like, what are you letting them know that you going to spend a whole lot of money on a piece of clothing or on material things? You letting them know that you are materialistic? Oh, and I know some people, they probably watching and say, hey, man, like, it is what it is. But when you're talking about, we can't have a conversation about, you know, investing, money management, all of this stuff, and then we get caught up in the name of a brand. Right. And so that's the part about it. It's like, are we continuing that behavior? Are we continuing that part of the culture where it's like, no, I don't drink Sprite, I drink exotic pop? But that's what it's extended to. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Like the whole branding, exclusive thing. It Like, you're not up on this. Like, if you ain't up on this, you're not a good person. See, that's the psychology behind all of that is, if you buy this product will make you better because you purchased this product. That's the psychology, right? The psychology is this product will make who you are. And I'm questioning and I'm challenging that by saying that's the same psychology that got us in a space that we're in today, where people see themselves bigger than the rest of us.
Right.
You know, and I don't know if that works for Black folks. Like, I don't know. We already got exclusivity. Look at, how we treat people with money, celebrities and, rappers and artists and entertainers and athletes. They get into us room, we don't see nobody else. And I find that to be a very, very, that's the ugly part of the culture. What's your take on that?
So that's like, it's so funny you talk about that. So I'm going to bring to you like a couple points, like that you were talking about. So one, about the exclusivity, and not even just talking about exotic pop, because like you, I definitely want to try. Like I was on the website, so I'm about to order my crypto coin because I want to try it. Yes, it's $50, but I want to try it. Like that's
you say you want to try it, right?
It's like, all right, I know the story, I know the background. Okay, I got it. I want to try it. They also have a soda on there, a cotton candy soda. I think it's DJ Screw's cotton candy soda. So I said, I'll try that. Yes, I know we're not supposed to be drinking soda, so we get away. But again, I'm that type of person. I'll try it. Like I'm not saying I'm going to subscribe or have a weekly influx of soda coming. Like, no, I'm not saying. I just want to try it. Just give it a shot because again, it is Black owned. I like to support Black owned as much as I can. But at the same sense, it's like the exclusivity part stuck out to me. So like, think about this. When you were talking, I was sitting here thinking about, I said, all right, I financially have gained, went up in life. It's been a nice ride these last couple of years. So I keep on increasing. So I started thinking, I said, I look around in my, my place. I'm like, all right, well, some things that I've purchased that I would have never normally purchased. And that comes with my financial situation. And then I also start thinking about, well, I also am still frugal. So I don't just purchase outright. I can admit I still use Klarna. I use Afterpay because I don't feel like you should get all my money at one time.
Right.
But the brands that I've purchased, I'm going to say this in a joking way, but it's like, I don't buy nothing where if I wear it or if I post it, I can't wear it again. So a lot of times you see people that pay all this money for this Gucci or this whatever. But as soon as you take that pic, the culture we live in, you can't wear it no more.
Right.
You already posted the picture.
Right.
I buy stuff like book bags. Like I get things that I can rock on a consistent basis. But it's like, that's the mindset of the culture that we,
That's a good point.
It's funny the show's called The Culture, but that's the mindset. Like
that is the mindset.
Once you post it, that's it. Like you can't wear it no more. So how much you willing to spend on that designer item to not even be able to rock it no more or wear it anywhere or be seen with it in public because you already posted that picture with it. So you better not take no picture in it at this point. So, it's just like, I kind of still look at things from my perspective. It's like, I don't want to throw my money out there to these exclusive brands and these designer brands, but I'm also interested in the culture of, well, what makes them so poppin' in our culture? What's the attraction? I might find some things I like. I'm gonna tell you this 9 times out of 10, and this is just being me 100% honest. A lot of the crap I just can't even rock with. So it's like, it's not like you're exclusive to me because I don't even rock with majority of your stuff. It's just, I might find, if it takes me to scroll on your website for 5 minutes to finally find something, then it means you don't appeal to me. Like something that appeals to me, as soon as I click on your website, boom, the first thing, I want that. Like if I gotta scroll and find it, that's not my, I'm staying in my financial leg. That's how I'm staying in my lane. I can't jump into that lane.
But like, Jules, I think the point and the question that you brought up is the point. Is the dominating question in this conversation, which is, why are we attracted to the brands, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have been conditioned to believe that what we wear makes us who we are, right? And guess what? if you have low self-esteem, if you don't see yourself in the proper light, then you are a prime candidate for that type of marketing. That's your prime candidate. I remember watching Netflix got this Abercrombie and Fitch documentary. They talked about how the brand was hot in the early 2000s and all of this stuff, how it just came to power. And then it becomes such a brand that was in demand that, you know, everybody was wearing Abercrombie and Fitch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or you wanted to get a shirt. You wanted to get something and you got to have it, you know, A and F, you know what I'm saying? Like on the logo and Abercrombie down the sleeve or something, right? Like I remember, and one woman said, she's an Asian woman. Now the whole documentary is the fact that they went down this very racist kind of, their clothes the messaging was starting to get more racist. And one Asian woman said, she said, I remember being a young girl in high school or college and I was wearing my Abercrombie shirt. You know, she showed all these pictures. She was like, that was the only item I had for Abercrombie. But when I would hang out with certain group of friends, I'm rocking my Abercrombie because it made me feel like I'm somebody, made me feel accepted. And that's what it is. That's what it is. Brands, like there's a social science attached to the fact that when you drink something, when you drive something, when you wear something, you're seeing the imagery of who you are is elevated. That's the whole purpose for Instagram, right? Like if you're sitting in front of a Maserati or a Tesla, you know what I mean? People are going to assume that that's your car. They don't think that you walking like you're in Miami. You just happen to walk by one and you're like, yeah, yo, this is what I want. Versus that being the truth. So I'm just saying like that it just speaks to, it really speaks to where we are in you know, emotionally and mentally and psychologically, where we look to things outside of ourselves to make us believe that that's going to compensate for the lack inside of ourselves. And I think that's the problem.
Can I
go ahead, bro. You got about 30 seconds.
All right, so I got a quick joke story from this weekend.
All right, go ahead.
So I had to go to a funeral for a family member this weekend, but it was me and Pops riding together all weekend. Pops has a brand new BMW. Now I'm not into all luxury cars and all this other stuff, blah, but like that. That's, you know, his thing. I love it. But we were about to leave and we're getting on the highway to go home. My man dropped the top. So I'm riding in the 2022 BMW convertible. I ain't gonna front Farajii. I sat there for him and I was like, I ain't into, you know, money and stuff like that and exclusive and luxury cars, but this different. this feel good. Like you feel like money riding in that. That thing's pretty. Like and I'm like, look, I get it. I get it. I'm not for it personally, but I get it. I get it, man. I get it.
No, I mean, that's natural, right? Because we all see ourselves, I think naturally, and as we close out this part of the conversation, I think it's natural for us to see ourselves as being great, as being somebody, right? Because especially if you grew up as a black boy, black girl, especially if you grew up from humble beginnings, you don't have to be black. You just grew up with nothing. By the time you get something, oh, you going all out, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. That's our culture. That's the American culture. That ain't just black culture. That's the American culture. The American culture says things make you who you are. Clothes make you who you are. You could be a terrible human being. You could be nasty to people. You may not give no money to the homeless. You know what I'm saying? You're not volunteering for no cause. But if you wear certain things, if you drive a certain thing, guess what? You are considered to be great, a great human being. And I often push back on that. I'm very laid back. I'm very low key. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need brands to define who I am. Brands are what I drink. Brands are what I eat. You know, and I mean, we take stuff to the next level. Like, you know, you might be like, hey man, I go to cheesecake. You be like, cheesecake, bruh, you ain't up on no, you know, no boo, man. You still eating that cheesecake? You be like, yeah, because the food. because the food is still good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's how we are now. You know, it's like, man, like, oh, you ain't take it to the hottest new restaurant where you $75 a plate. Oh, you still paying $25. Oh, okay. You must not have no money.
Right,
you like, nah, I just wanted some cheesecake, bro.
What I like, exactly. That's what I like. I like what I like.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse for us to create exclusive brands. I don't know. I think that that's something that we still need to determine. And I'm going to reach out to Exotic Pop to see if we can get, Charleston Wilson on and let's talk about this a little bit more. I mean, I'm not trying to trash his business model. I'm just wondering. I'm just really thinking, as Arsenio Hall said, things that make you go, just like, is this good for the culture? Is exclusivity good for the culture? I don't know. I don't know, bro. So we will have to see. All right, Jules, that's going to do it for us, bro. I appreciate you. You'll be holding it down on Monday, so I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the show. And how can folks get more information about who you are, what you're doing, how they can follow you on social media?
Everything is at Mr. So it's Mr. spelled out MisterJulzP. It's Mr. Jules P. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Jules Prescott. It's literally, I just try to be that. I'm a sports head. I love music. I love activism. So I just kind of share what's going on. I mean, that's just me. I just love the culture and also support everybody. Like, I'm one of those people. If you got something going on, I'm going to post it. Like, I like to see people doing good in life. So that's just my natural way of spreading the message of positivity, whether it's locally, domestically, or internationally. I got you.
There it is. There it is. Jules P, Mr. Jules P on on Instagram. Look at Keenan, always does that to people, man. He just pops up with your stuff. King Keenan, man, always doing something great. All right, Jules, we appreciate you, brother, and certainly thank you for your insight and your analysis today. And most importantly, we thank you for being so good for the culture.
I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Absolutely. Talk to you, God willing, next week, bro.
Yes, sir.
Folks, that's going to do it for me, too. I appreciate all of you. Oh, my gosh. Y'all don't know how much I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all so much for tuning in each and every day. Kicking off the week on a very, very strong note, we want to thank Dr. Gerald Horn, our very special guest and our foreign policy expert. As always, make sure y'all check him out. But, folks, if you love what you've been hearing, and I know we got a number of new voices in the chat, make sure y'all go to blackstarnetwork.com. Show your support for the work that we're doing here each and every day, Black-owned media like never before. Make sure y'all check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. You can give to continue to support us financially, or you say, I don't have the money right now for Farajii, but I do want to support. How can I do that? Share all of the notifications, share all of the programs, and as you get those notifications on social media, make sure that you let people know. And you can download the Black Star Network app for free on all of your devices, including your phone and your TV, your laptop, your iPad, everywhere. We're just everywhere. But more importantly, let people know that Black-owned media is here, and we're here to stay, especially for Black Star Network. All right, folks, stay tuned. Up next at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is my big brother, Roland Martin with Roland Martin Unfiltered. So you could definitely check him out. You know he got the great conversations, the powerhouse panelists, and so much more. So make sure y'all check him out at Roland Martin Unfiltered, along with some of the other shows. A Balanced Life has dropped. If you haven't missed this past Friday, the Black Table with Dr. Greg Carr, check that out. Get Wealthy with Deborah Owens. Man, we got fantastic programs here. Make sure y'all all check them out. All right, as always, that's going to do it for B, but never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.